I want you to picture this scenario. For example, 2 days ago you attended a meeting at work. You were thoroughly prepared in advance. You gave a perfect presentation. All the data, all the documents, all the details were actually right there with you. However, no one around you really listened to you seriously or paid attention to you. But another co-worker, someone else in the room, said something similar to what you had said. And suddenly everyone applauded and gave positive reactions as if they'd heard something completely different and extraordinary. So how can such a situation actually happen? Because I have to tell you that there's definitely a difference here. That person is undoubtedly better dressed, stands with better posture, has a much stronger tone of voice, and can convey their feelings by looking into others' eyes while speaking. Essentially, there was no difference between what they said and what you said, but unfortunately, they were the only one who received all the positive reactions. When you encounter a situation like this, it feels as though all the painful, negative emotions of life have completely settled on you. Therefore, I want to make this clear to you. The thing you call appearance actually has a much greater impact on your life than you might think. Before even listening to you or truly understanding you, they immediately jump to a conclusion based on prejudice. They don't consider how unique your intellect or talents might be, or whether you're incredibly different in any way. They only focus on what your appearance conveys and the message it sends to them. Of course, this is an upsetting situation for everyone. I agree with you. You're absolutely right. However, knowing this, I'm confident that by applying the 10 psychological truths I'll share shortly, you can change certain aspects of your life, and you too can easily become an effective player by playing by the rules of the game. If you'd like, let's start with the first point right away. 1. People are much more likely to believe what attractive people say. The details I mentioned earlier in the introduction can certainly create an uncomfortable situation for you. However, as I said, this is unfortunately a psychological reality, meaning that when two people advocating the same argument have different physical appearances, it's a fact that the person who is slightly more attractive and appears to value themselves more will have their words perceived as more credible. In fact, a detailed study conducted recently at Harvard University shows us that when the brain's security-related region encounters an attractive face, it responds positively much more quickly and clearly. So, what I'm talking about isn't just something dictated by superficial appearance. It's essentially a reflection of how we've been scientifically programmed for many, many years, since the time of our ancestors. Throughout human history for thousands of years, people who appeared healthy, well-groomed, and strong have been valued more highly for survival. Of course, I agree that such biases shouldn't exist in the modern world we live in today, but unfortunately, it's a fact that our brains still operate on these codes. If you ask how we can turn this knowledge to our advantage and integrate it into our lives to achieve positive results, if we want to persuade others more effectively, get our ideas accepted more readily, and especially advance more quickly in our careers, it actually matters just as much how we present ourselves as what we say. In other words, dressing appropriately, maintaining a well-groomed appearance, and effectively using our body language in tandem with our words. These elements collectively form the very structure of what we convey to the outside world. So, no matter how much quality the content we discuss contains in words, if all of this doesn't form a genuine sense of cohesion, unfortunately, it won't capture many people's attention. Of course, this prejudicial reality, as I mentioned, is a harsh truth, but the part within our control is to understand the rules of the game and position ourselves on the winning side accordingly. I also need to clearly state that what I'm discussing here yields even more effective results on social media. Because of their visual biases, people can make a judgment about someone in just 3 seconds. Even the algorithms of many social media platforms are fully aware of this. If you're not producing engaging content, people won't watch it for long, leading to a less successful outcome. This forces many people to showcase the best version of themselves, their full potential. By the way, I know this is at least the second video you've watched on my channel, and the fact that you still haven't subscribed really upsets me, because seeing you here and moving forward together on this journey is very valuable to me. If you subscribe, you'll not only support me in the strongest way possible, but we also won't lose touch. 2. On days when you dress poorly, your self-confidence drops by up to 40%, and your performance typically follows suit. Now think about this. For example, you wake up in the morning, your eyes aren't even fully open yet, and you immediately go to your closet and put on whatever comes to hand first. So what I'm talking about could be a t-shirt with a stain on it, or maybe an old tracksuit. You might be thinking, I'm at home anyway, no one will see me or notice. But the mistake actually starts to show itself right here, because you can be sure there's someone who sees you there. It's you. So every time you look in the mirror or catch a glimpse of yourself somewhere in the house, you're actually sending a constant message to your brain. I'm not in an important situation today. I'm already worthless enough. It's not worth making an effort for me. Over time, this message you're sending begins to take root deeper in your subconscious. This creates a very negative situation that lowers your self-confidence, even if you don't realize it. A recent study by Northwestern University clearly demonstrates that what you wear directly influences how your brain functions. So let me ask you this. Is what I'm saying just a psychological feeling? Absolutely not. You can be sure that this situation also clearly influences the performance you'll deliver throughout the day. Here's the result. Researchers had the same people wear different outfits and perform tests that required a great deal of attention. Do you know what the outcome was? Those wearing formal, more polished outfits performed 40 to 45% better. So, why do you think that is? Because the clothes you wear aren't just an external appearance or a mere covering, as I mentioned. They also serve as a key that clearly reflects your mental state. In other words, when you wear neat, well-organized clothes, your brain essentially switches to a more professional mode. However, when you wear disheveled, old, mismatched, or careless clothes, your brain essentially switches to its lowest gear. Of course, achieving productive results in that state is hardly possible in real life. For example, let me explain something else. Something many of us have probably noticed. Say you have to leave the house on a day when you're dressed poorly for whatever reason. Maybe you need to go to the grocery store to pick something up, or you have to stop by somewhere outside. How do you feel in a situation like that? You end up adopting a style that feels vulnerable, wanting to get in and out as quickly as possible without being seen, right? You don't want anyone staring at you. In such a situation, your shoulders might drop, and you just want to do whatever you need to do quickly and get back home. Actually, this emotional state I'm describing isn't limited to just that specific moment. If you extend this way of dressing over a longer period, this lack of self-confidence becomes almost like a part of your identity, and without even realizing it, you end up having a personality with very low self-esteem. So, what kind of solution can you implement regarding this situation I'm describing? Does that mean you'll wear a suit-style outfit every single minute of every day? Of course not. However, here's the thing. Even when you're at home, you should show yourself some respect every day. In other words, you should wear neat, clean, and sensible clothes that make you feel better. You need to first get rid of that "no one will see me" mindset. This way, it becomes easier to boost your motivation, improve your performance, and become more productive. Because this is a chain reaction. When you look good, you start to feel better, and you'll realize that when you feel good, you're more likely to produce better results. In short, your self-confidence increases. 3. People are 70% less likely to trust someone who avoids eye contact. I want to start with this harsh reality. Think back to a conversation where you couldn't look someone in the eye, or where someone wouldn't look you in the eye. What did you feel about that person? Most likely thoughts like, they're hiding something, they're lying, or they're untrustworthy, crossed your mind, And this is completely normal because your brain has associated eye contact with honesty and trustworthiness for millions of years. Researchers at Princeton University found that people's trust levels in those who avoid eye contact drop by as much as 70%. That's an incredibly large number. So, simply by looking away, you're reducing the value of everything you say by nearly 2/3. Even if your words remain the same without eye contact, it's as if you haven't said anything at all. Of course, there's an evolutionary basis for this. Our ancestors flagged individuals who couldn't make eye contact as dangerous or untrustworthy, because someone who avoids eye contact is either planning an attack, cheating within the group, or lying. Those who survived over thousands of years were the people who could quickly read these signals. Even though you live in a modern world now, the amygdala region of your brain still uses that primitive alarm system. So, if someone isn't looking you in the eye while talking to you, alarm bells go off and the message, "Be careful, this person is untrustworthy," is sent. You might not even be aware of it, but your behavior is shaped accordingly. Additionally, eye contact also fuels charisma. Charismatic leaders, compelling speakers, successful salespeople, they all share one common trait: strong eye contact. Because eye contact doesn't just build trust, it also conveys the message, "I'm here, I see you, and you matter to me." The person across from you feels valued, and people connect with, trust, and follow those who make them feel valued. When you develop this skill, you begin to influence people without even using words. When you enter a room, your presence is felt. When you speak, people listen. When you ask for something, you're heard. 4. Your hairstyle prompts 15 different assumptions about your character. The critical point here is this: your hair isn't just an aesthetic detail, it's actually a silent ID card. When people look at your hairstyle, they unconsciously construct a story. Is this person organized or chaotic, creative or conservative? Do they care about themselves or do they not care? Research in social psychology at Yale University shows that people make assumptions about a person's personality, income level, education level, social status, sexual orientation, political views, and even relationship status based on their hairstyle. A total of 15 different categories. So without saying a word, you're conveying a massive amount of information just through your hair. And most of this information is within your control. Of course, for women, this is even more complex. Long hair is perceived as feminine, youthful, and well-groomed, but it can also create the prejudice that someone is unprofessional or not serious. Short hair is perceived as strong, independent, and charismatic, but it can also lead to assumptions like aggressive, masculine, and aloof. Blonde hair is coded in people's minds as fun and social, dark hair as mysterious and intelligent, and red hair as bold and passionate. Are these fair? No. But are they true? Absolutely. And once you know these codes, you can use your hairstyle as a tool to convey the message you want. For example, if you're going to a job interview and want to project a reliable, organized, professional image, you'll go with a neat, simple hairstyle. But if you're presenting to a creative agency, opting for a bolder, more unique style can help you stand out. In addition to this, there's also the matter of grooming. How well-groomed and healthy your hair is directly relates to your financial situation and self-discipline. Damaged, dry, or thinning hair sends the message that this person isn't investing in themselves. Maybe they don't have the money, or maybe they lack self-confidence. Shiny, voluminous, healthy hair, on the other hand, conveys the message this person values themselves, has resources, and is in control of their life. This is why the hair transplant, hair dye, and hair care product industries are worth billions of dollars. People know their hair is social capital. You should know it too. 5. Body language conveys a message 5 times more powerful than words. Let me start with this fact. When you speak, the words coming out of your mouth make up only 20% of your message. The remaining 80% comes from your body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions. Research by Albert Mehrabian, the renowned communication professor at UCLA, clearly demonstrates this. People pay more attention to how you say something than what you say. So you might say, "Everything's fine," but your shoulders are slumped, your arms are crossed, and your face is tense. Which message will people believe? Definitely the body language. Because body language doesn't lie, it's much harder to control. Your subconscious speaks directly through it, and the other person's subconscious reads and understands it without words. If I need to give an example, now apply this to your daily life. You're in a job interview saying, "I really want this job," but you've crossed your legs, leaned back, and aren't placing your hands on the table. What does the employer see? Someone who's disinterested, defensive, and closed off. Or you tell someone you're in love with them, but your body isn't turned toward them, your arms are crossed, and you're keeping your distance. What does that person feel? They're not really interested in me. Something's off. Or you're presenting an idea in a meeting saying, "This project will definitely be a success," but your voice is trembling, you're fidgeting with your hands, and you can't make eye contact. No one believes you, because while your words say one thing, your body language is screaming the exact opposite. And when there's a conflict, the brain always believes the body language. I also want to mention this. There are also power poses. Research by Amy Cuddy from Harvard shows that if you stand in a powerful pose for 2 minutes, hands on hips, feet apart, chest out, your testosterone levels rise and your cortisol levels drop. So you're not just appearing strong, you actually feel strong. This is a biochemical change, and this change reflects in your tone of voice, your decisions, and your courage. Before an important meeting, presentation, or interview, go to the restroom and stand in a power pose for 2 minutes. No one sees you, but the effect is immense. When you walk in, you enter with a different energy. 6. Facial symmetry is clearly perceived as an indicator of genetic health. Here's the reality. How symmetrical your face is influences how attractive, healthy, and genetically superior people perceive you to be. This might sound absurd to you, but it makes perfect sense from an evolutionary biology perspective. Because facial symmetry is a sign that you didn't experience any issues during development, that you weren't affected by parasites, diseases, or genetic disorders. Research conducted by the University of New Mexico shows that people with symmetrical faces score higher on immune system tests. In other words, when the brain sees a symmetrical face, it interprets it as, "This person is healthy, carries strong genes, and could be a good partner or spouse." In fact, even if you're not aware of it, you evaluate the faces of dozens of people every day based on this criterion. As you can see, now look at celebrities, leaders, and successful people. What do most of them have in common? Their faces are relatively symmetrical. Studies show that CEOs, politicians, and actors have facial symmetry above the average. Because people unconsciously trust symmetrical faces more, grant them more authority, and vote for them more. In fact, some election analyses show that physically more symmetrical candidates can receive 10 to 15% more votes without saying a word, just based on their appearance. Is that fair? Absolutely not. But is it true? Unfortunately, yes. And once you know this truth, at least you understand the rules of the game. So I want to ask you this. Exactly what do we mean by symmetry? Is the distance between your eyes equal? Is your nose centered? Are your lips balanced? Is your jawline smooth? Are your ears at the same level? Are your eyebrows parallel? These are very subtle details, but your brain's visual processing center calculates them in milliseconds. Of course, no one sits down and measures your face, but on a subconscious level, everyone does this. And the more symmetrical a face is, the more it's perceived as pleasant, trustworthy, and attractive. When there's asymmetry, the brain sounds a slight alarm. Something's missing, something's wrong. People can't put their finger on it, but they feel uneasy. Ultimately, while facial symmetry may seem like a matter of chance, how you present it and how you highlight it is entirely up to you. When you style your hair, beard, makeup, glasses, or even your posture, you can enhance the perceived symmetry of your face. And this isn't just an aesthetic gain, it's a social gain. People trust you more, find you more attractive, and offer you more opportunities. Evolution may have dealt you certain cards, but if you know how to play them, you win the game. Facial symmetry isn't fate, it's a strategy. 7. Voice tone is just as effective as appearance. Deep voices are perceived as much more authoritative. Before diving into this crucial point, let me start by saying this. Close your eyes and just listen. One person speaks in a deep, steady, slow voice. Another says the same thing in a high-pitched, fast, trembling voice. Which one do you trust? Which one do you see as a leader? Whose words do you believe? The answer is clear. Voice tone creates an impact as powerful as appearance, yet most people aren't even aware of it. A study by Duke University shows that men with deep voices are perceived as 40% more authoritative, trustworthy, and leader-like in the business world. For women, a lower-pitched voice is associated with professionalism and seriousness. So no matter what you say, your tone of voice determines half of your message. And this isn't just an innate trait. It's a skill that can be developed and controlled. In fact, the power of tone of voice is evolutionary. Deep voices signal high testosterone levels, physical strength, and leadership potential. Our ancestors followed deep-voiced leaders for thousands of years because a deep voice symbolized the power to protect the herd, intimidate enemies, and lead the group. You may not be physically fighting anyone today, but your brain still operates on those same codes. So when you speak with a deep, calm, and controlled voice, the other person's subconscious says, "This person is strong, this person is trustworthy, I should listen to this person." But when you speak with a high-pitched, fast, and shaky voice, the perception is that this person is weak, vulnerable, and out of control. The critical question here is, how can you improve your voice? The first step is awareness. Record yourself and listen. How deep, how fast, how clear is your voice? Most people are shocked when they hear their own voice because the sound they hear in their head is very different from the sound coming from outside. Then comes breath control. Deep voices come from the diaphragm, not the chest. When you breathe in, your abdomen should expand, not your chest. When you speak this way, your voice automatically becomes deeper, stronger, and more controlled. The third step is pace. Speaking slowly is a sign of strength. Speaking quickly is a sign of defensiveness or insecurity. Watch how leaders, CEOs, and presidents speak. They all speak slowly. Because they aren't in a hurry, they're in control. I also want to mention that there's an emotional impact to tone of voice. When you say the same sentence with different tones, it conveys completely different meanings. Consider the phrase, "What do you want?" If you say it in a deep, calm tone, it's a sincere question. If you say it in a high, sharp tone, it's an aggressive statement. If you say it monotonously, it's indifference. If you say it softly, it's compassion. So tone creates a layer of meaning beyond the words themselves. People may forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you said it. Your tone of voice, because tone of voice directly triggers emotions, and emotions are always stronger than logic. Ultimately, no matter how much you invest in your appearance, if you neglect your voice, you lose half your message. But when you develop your voice, deep, calm, controlled, slow, you automatically gain authority. People take you more seriously, believe your words more, and see your leadership qualities. And the best part is, this is a skill that can be fully developed. You're not limited by your genetic vocal cords. Breathing exercises, voice training, and mindful speaking practices, these deepen, clarify, and strengthen your tone. And when your voice grows stronger, your entire presence grows stronger, because your voice is your invisible appearance. And being perceived as 40% more authoritative multiplies the number of doors that open in your life. 8. Poor posture unfortunately makes you look 10 years older. I'd actually like to start by asking you something. Look in the mirror. Are your shoulders slumped forward? Is your head tilted toward your phone? Do you have a hunch in your lower back? If the answer is yes, you look 10 years older than your chronological age. In studies conducted by Stanford University, people were shown two different photos of the same person, one with an upright posture, the other with slumped shoulders. People estimated the person with the slumped posture to be an average of 8 to 12 years older. The same person, the same face, just a difference in posture, because posture is one of the most visible signs of aging. Older people hunch over, their shoulders droop, and their necks tilt forward. Even if you're young, if you mimic this posture, your brain categorizes you as older. And the perception of being older comes with a host of negative associations: weak, tired, lacking energy, and powerless. Now let's look at the consequences of this perception. There are two candidates in a job interview. Both are 30 years old, but one stands tall, the other slumps. The one who slumps looks like they're 40. Which one does the employer choose? The one who stands tall, because good posture conveys a message of energy, health, resilience, and long-term productivity. A slumped posture, on the other hand, sends the message: this person gets tired easily, might have health issues, and has low energy. Or consider dating. The person across from you is torn between two options: you and someone else. Both of you are attractive, but the other person stands tall while you're slouching. Which one is more appealing? Which one looks younger, more energetic, and full of life? The answer is clear. Looking at it from another angle, there's also a psychological dimension. Posture and mood feed into each other. When you're sad, you automatically slump. But the reverse is also true. When you slump, your brain says, "I must be sad," and you feel sad. Research by Amy Cuddy at Harvard shows that when you stand in a tall, open, confident posture for just 2 minutes, your cortisol levels drop, testosterone rises, and your self-confidence increases. So when you improve your posture, you don't just look younger, you feel stronger, more energetic, and more confident. And this change reflects in everything: your voice, your gaze, your decisions. Ultimately, posture is the cheapest yet most effective anti-aging method. You could spend thousands of lira on expensive creams, supplements, and treatments, but if your posture is poor, it's all for nothing. But when you improve your posture, you instantly look 10 years younger. People treat you differently. You receive more respect. More opportunities come your way. You're seen as more attractive. And most importantly, you feel better about yourself. Because standing tall isn't just a physical position. It's the most fundamental expression of self-respect, your stance toward the world, and saying, "I'm here and I matter." And everyone who does this quietly slows down the aging process and preserves the most visible sign of youth: a straight, strong, energetic posture. 9. Your choice of jewelry and accessories reveals 8 different things about your personality. Friend, let me start by saying this. The watch, necklace, ring, earrings, bracelet, belt, or bag you put on when you leave the house in the morning isn't just an ornament, it's actually a code system. People look at these details to guess your income level, personality, values, social group, and even your political views. A social psychology study from the University of Kansas shows that people make judgments across 8 different categories based on the accessories a person wears: economic status, social status, personality type, extroverted/introverted, creativity level, risk-taking tendency, emotionality, conservatism/liberalism, and even relationship status. So even by wearing or not wearing a single ring, you're sending a message. And these messages directly influence how people approach you. Now think about it with examples. What message does someone wearing an expensive brand name watch convey? I'm successful, I make money, status matters. People approach this person with respect, but may also judge them as materialistic, aloof, perhaps insincere. What message does wearing a minimalist, simple watch, or no watch at all, convey? Functionality matters more to me than flashiness. I'm different. I don't follow trends. People might find this person authentic and intellectual, but they might also form a mistaken impression that they're unsuccessful or have no status. In either case, you're simply starting a story in people's minds with a single accessory choice. And that story forms the foundation of the relationship they'll build with you. Of course, naturally, for women, accessories are a much more complex language. Large, flashy earrings signal courage, self-confidence, and extroversion. Delicate, small earrings convey refinement, feminine energy, and conservatism. No earrings at all suggest minimalism, naturalness, or perhaps an alternative lifestyle. Wearing multiple necklaces around your neck signifies bohemianism, creativity, and a quest for freedom. Too many rings signify emotional depth, family ties, if they're family heirlooms, or a display of status, if they're diamonds or gold. A simple bracelet or nothing at all signifies simplicity, practicality, and an "I don't need adornments" attitude. Every choice builds a different identity. In addition to this, accessories also serve as a sign of group identity. A cross necklace signifies the Christian faith, an evil eye represents Turkish culture, a hamsa hand symbolizes Jewish or Middle Eastern culture, and an Om symbol represents Hinduism or a yoga lifestyle. These are not just about faith, they are also a way of saying, I am part of this community. When people see these symbols, they immediately perceive you as belonging to a group and behave accordingly. If they belong to the same group, they draw closer. If they're different, they keep their distance or judge you. Without even realizing it, by wearing a symbol, you're influencing your social network, your surroundings, and even your career opportunities. Ultimately, your choice of accessories says far more about you than you might think. And these choices shouldn't be made unconsciously. When you decide what to wear in the morning, you're actually deciding how you want to be perceived that day. If you're heading to a business meeting, a high-quality yet understated watch, a simple belt, and minimal accessories convey professionalism. If you're attending an artistic event, unique, bold, and distinctive accessories make you stand out. If you're dating, it's not about flashy accessories. 1 or 2 select pieces demonstrate sophistication and confidence. In any case, accessories are a quiet yet powerful language, and when you learn and use this language consciously, you secure the place you want in people's minds without saying a word. 10. Women who wear makeup are perceived as holding positions of authority 30% more often in professional settings. Let me start with this fact. Makeup isn't just about looking beautiful, it's a tool for power and authority in the professional world. A joint study by Harvard Medical School and Massachusetts General Hospital clearly demonstrates this. Women who wear makeup are perceived as 30% more authoritative, 25% more trustworthy, and 20% more likable in work environments. So even if you have the same resume, the same qualifications, and the same communication skills, there's a massive difference in perception between wearing makeup and not wearing it. The reason is that makeup defines facial features, enhances a healthy appearance, and conveys the message that you're well-groomed, organized, and detail-oriented. People subconsciously label a woman wearing makeup as someone who takes her work seriously, follows the rules, and is professional. And this label accelerates career advancement. Of course, there's an important detail here. The amount and style of makeup make all the difference. Research shows that natural, neutral-toned light makeup creates the highest perception of competence. Heavy, flashy, colorful makeup, on the other hand, has the opposite effect. The woman is perceived as unprofessional, distracting, and not serious. So balance is critical here. Wearing makeup offers an advantage, but only if it's the right kind of makeup. Otherwise, it becomes a disadvantage. The most effective makeup in professional settings, even skin tone, concealer under the eyes, defined eyebrows, curled lashes, a light blush, and a neutral lip color. This combination conveys a message of healthy, alert, well-groomed, and attentive. And this message is automatically interpreted by bosses, clients, and business partners as competent, reliable, and worthy of a promotion. So why do you think this is the case? Evolutionary psychology comes into play again. Healthy skin, bright eyes, and colorful lips are signs of youth and health. Makeup artificially emphasizes these traits, conveying the message, "I'm strong, I have high energy, I can get the job done." Additionally, applying makeup requires time, effort, and money. So when a woman arrives wearing makeup, the subconscious message is, this person pays attention to details, is disciplined, can get up early in the morning to get ready, and practices self-care. These are indirect indicators of professionalism, and people, especially men, quickly scan these indicators and conclude, this woman is serious, she deserves respect. There's also a gender bias aspect to this. Men can look professional without makeup because the expectation for men to be well-groomed is lower. But a double standard is applied to women. If you're makeup-free, you're lazy, careless, doesn't take care of herself. If you wear too much makeup, you're not taken seriously, distracting. Is this fair? Absolutely not. But is it true? Unfortunately, yes. And while you can't change this reality, you can play by the rules of this game. From a feminist perspective, you could say, the obligation to wear makeup is wrong, and you'd be right. But from a pragmatic perspective, you could also say, I want to advance quickly in my career, and if this tool gives me an advantage, I'll use it. And that's valid too. The choice is yours. Additionally, makeup is also a confidence booster. When you wear makeup, your reflection in the mirror looks sharper, more vibrant, and stronger. This boosts your inner confidence, and confidence reflects in your body language, tone of voice, and eye contact. So makeup doesn't just change how others perceive you, it also enhances your inner strength. It's like a kind of armor. When you put on that armor, you speak more boldly, negotiate more firmly, and demand a higher salary. And people respect that and accept it. After the 10 points I discussed in this video, I can briefly say that I believe you're now much more aware of certain truths. In other words, you've realized that your appearance isn't just a superficial, trivial detail, but actually serves as the key to doors that open or have the potential to open in every area of your life. As I said, people greet you with a major bias within the first 7 seconds, and what you actually say or don't say takes a back seat. Your talents, your gaze, and your voice, of course, follow as things that are evaluated later. As I said, I accept this. It may be an unfair situation, but unfortunately that's the reality. By playing by the rules of the game and consciously writing this manifesto, we can create significant positive space in people's minds, even before uttering a single word. Don't forget that appearance doesn't determine everything, but it absolutely influences everything. And when we accept this reality, invest in it accordingly, and act accordingly, life actually starts to become easier. Now is the perfect time to look in the mirror and plan how to build the strongest version of yourself, because the world is more ready than ever to welcome you at your best. Don't forget to subscribe, friends. See you in the next video.